Let me tee you up with a question here. Somebody asked, what would acting predetermined look like? Do you want to step into the idea of gender? Because that's kind of this idea of predetermined action, at least from the way that I would perceive a gender, right? Or do you feel like there's a better direction to go with that?
Well, we can. I'll get into the gender stuff in a bit more, but like I would say that at the most basic level is being gay or queer or trans, because society tries to push you to be a certain way. And I mean, in that context, at least, it's like you're supposed to have a choice. It's like, okay, you choose to adopt the cis heteronormative position that's allotted or expected of you in the society. Well, why don't we choose that? It's like we feel like compelled at some existential base level that we can't choose to be that way. We actually have to be a different way, right? We're like, in some sense, determined to be the way that we are, and we feel that we don't have control over this, or that we shouldn't have control over this, right? If somebody was like, well, you could just choose to not be trans, I mean, you wouldn't agree that it's like you could just choose it, right? You don't, in that context, in that specific thing, you're not really free to decide what you will be like, or like what you will want inherently. You just kind of do.
Not what you want, but you could decide to stop transitioning. Like, I could decide to stop hormonalizing. And, like, maybe I still have the latent transgenderism, the latent transsexuality, but I don't necessarily have to be a medicalized trans person.
So, I mean, again, this is like, you can decide if you act on what you want, but you can't decide what you want. And that's what psychoanalysis and the unconscious is about, is your thoughts and desires and what you want is being provided for you by this generating neural mechanism that you don't fully control. And the only part that you do control is the conscious level of executive action based on the unconscious generation of those thoughts in some way.
See, that's where I feel like we actually have a lot more influence than most people give ourselves credit for. Because you don't only have access to the outputs, you also have access to the inputs, right?
So
like,
to some extent, yes. I think, Kat, for you specifically, like, you are a pretty special person. Like, you're also very, adamant about researching these things, finding out new ideas, and you're very, like, open-minded.
But maybe it's predetermined. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's not what I was trying to go with that. But I'm just saying, like, you yourself, I'm sure you're gonna have some excellent, techniques to think about thoughts that enable your free will. Because I can tell that you have a lot of will. We just say it that way. So, like, I know that you're gonna have some objections to some of what I'm saying. I'm not really trying to say that things are determined. I'm trying to explain, okay, why does psychoanalysis talk about the unconscious, and like why does this context matter? It's really a kind of way to tackle more of the normie mentality. You can think of it of like the typical mentality of society, or like how the median or average subject is kind of operating based on these fundamental rules that to some extent can be bent with proper awareness and techniques, and maybe stuff that you're do for yourself that is helpful. Most people aren't really operating like that. Most people are operating out of some sort of level of, they want the basic things that a human animal might want. They have impositions from society, and they are kind of go about their life following a script to a certain extent, fulfilling their biological needs and filling their role in culture, and not necessarily having to like break out of the script entirely. And it's, for trans people, it's like obvious that life isn't like that, and for queer people, etc. But for a more normie subject, and this is not, I don't think like the ideal normie type exists, but on average, it's like this is kind of how thought operates. And psychoanalysis tries to address the common case, essentially, or how these structures of thought work in general, not necessarily for the most eccentric, special kind of edge cases, even though it does help explain us as well, I think. But so when I'm saying stuff, just keep in mind, like, try to just assume something more of like a normie type of subjectivity and how that handles life. And
sorry,
it's okay. No, I mean, it's good that you're challenging me. So, okay, that's kind of what psychoanalysis is meant to be about. And I mean, yeah, so some of the other parts of it is division of the mind. So I don't know if you've ever seen those like charts about id and the ego and stuff. Like, it goes all the way back to Freud.